This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be happy. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to false views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so probably you all have been kind of meditating here. You can see many of the familiar faces. So meditation is, I don't know how many people find it, like maybe, hard or simple. But it's kind of a momentum, right? It has a lot of momentum what we do in our daily life, and when we kind of sit down, it kind of like comes with us. So, so it's all about kind of letting it go, right? And letting the mind and your body to relax. And for actually most of the people who have like normal jobs, it's not easy, right? I remember when I was a lay person, mostly I kind of meditated in the evening, and I would fall asleep because I was tired, and I needed some rest. And then when I would have some sort of a good sleep, and my meditation would be quite nice, because the body was rested. And but there were actually, surprisingly, there were like occasions, right? I would be at work and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna have some kind of like a time off, whether people went to smoke cigarette or tea or coffee. And I would just find a place and quietly sit down for 10-15 minutes, close my eyes and put my attention onto my body, and it would relax. And I feel energized again, even though I was tired before at work. And so that was kind of amazing, just allowing for my body, and mind to have a rest, because our mind and body are kind of intertwined, dependent on each other, they affect each other. And but we need to pay attention to our body first, because if the body is tired, obviously it's going to affect your mind, right? And if your mind is not in a happy place or stressed, it's going to have bad consequences for your body. Even so many scientists or even people in the medical fraternity, pay so much importance keeping your mind healthy, because it affects our body and people start to develop all sorts of diseases. So meditation is just allowing the things to be, not trying to control. If you try to control, you're probably making things worse. And I found out the very kind of first time I was introduced to Vipassana meditation, that's how I came across meditation. They had like this kind of like a very kind of active style of meditation. But after a while I was like, why am I putting so much effort into meditation? So I dropped the method or whatever, the teacher taught, and I just sat. So which kind of was like present moment awareness, right? And I felt so relaxed. And I had actually better meditations than before when I was doing this active kind of a method. Afterwards I was like, oh, I'm just going to invent my own methods. So I kind of like read the books and they didn't really kind of agree with me. So I was like, okay, yeah, take it easy, relax. And I found it more inspiring like when you can read the words of the Buddha. And his talks on being a good person, moral person, right? And doing deeds of kindness, being generous, being nice to your colleagues, right? Or having kind of like this kind of light attitude, not being so serious. I found that was so helpful for my practice. And when you go back home, you are much more happy. Probably not everybody have this kind of, working environment where they can be so interactive with people. They have to pay maybe more attention to their work, or more busy. But all these things, they affect our meditation practice. So if we develop this kindness, which is actually one of the most important factor of the path, it's going to take you a long way. This kind of like, you can say some sort of like an innocent innocent nature, right? If you develop that, you don't become vulnerable, to the world around you, but it helps you, because in the end, all these things in the world, they don't gonna matter, right? What somebody thought of you, or what your position is, all these things, they're not gonna matter. All you're gonna take is with your karma, your mind, and that would have the momentum and would carry you to next life, So while we are here, we maybe think about it more, reflect it more wisely, right? Like whatever time I have in this world, I should develop my mind, become a more generous person, right? This light attitude. Yeah. So maybe it's kind of a good time to start our meditation for this evening. So I would ask you, everyone, to close our eyes. Now, please sit in a comfortable position where you're not putting too much stress on your body. A posture where you can have a lot of awareness. So allowing a minute or so for you to adjust your body so you can be comfortable for another half an hour or so. Now gently bring your awareness onto the soles of your feet. you're sitting on a chair, you can feel the ground touching the feet. You can feel the pressure on the soles. It is so important to have contentment when we start to meditate. And this gentle attitude towards our body so we allow this time, this half an hour or so, for body and mind to relax. We gently bring our awareness on top of our feet and feel any kind of sensations you might have. Try to feel the muscles in your joints of the ankles. And allow them to relax. Slowly moving upwards. Try to feel our lower legs. From our knees up to the ankles. let them relax. If your mind wanders from the past or the future, gently bring it back. Because the future is uncertain. There's no point thinking about the future. And whatever you think is probably going to be different anyways. So we let go of past and future for this half an hour. And we give importance to meditation. Moving on, we bring our awareness onto our thighs and our bottom. And feel the chair or the cushion touching against your body. Or whatever feeling you might have in your thighs. Just be kind towards it. Maybe just observe where we observe with gentleness. our muscles become relaxed. So we let the power of mindfulness do its work. And moving on, bring our awareness onto our back. And gently observe up to the neck. Relax. And if there is any tension or irritation or pain anywhere in your back, you spend some more time on it, giving extra care. And we look after this body just like a mother will look after his child. With a lot of kindness and affection. have this sense of gratefulness. Because this body is so helpful, especially if you take your Dhamma practice very seriously. Now we bring our awareness to the front of the body, observing from our belly up to our neck. And observe all the sensations you can. It keeps the mind in the present and allows your body to relax.
Simply bring your awareness onto your neck, all around it, and let the muscles relax. Now slowly moving on to the shoulders and the arms, including hands. And feel whatever sensations you might have. Probably feel more sensations in your hands. And allow the mind to stay in the present. And never forget this sense of gratefulness for this body. It might have some illness or disease, but we still be grateful. becomes more relaxed. The peace and the joy increases. Because your mind is becoming relaxed. Now we bring the awareness onto our face and feel the muscles around your mouth. Around your forehead and your scalp, connecting to the neck, we allow them to relax. Gently scan all the muscles in our face and the head. towards the end of meditation. Now I will invite you to reflect on the last half an hour or so. I'll ask you, how relaxed do you feel? What has changed? Or did you do anything different? When I ring the bell, after the third bell, you can open your eyes and come out of meditation. Okay. Any comments or questions?
Thank you for that, Venerable. I think the sound's not all the best today, I think.
Is it?
Whether that's the same for is it the same for everyone else?
Was it quite low?
Yeah.
Oh, was it low?
Yeah, you're a bit louder now.
Was it up and down, was it?
Yeah, it was breaking up.
Because...
It's quite low, but...
Okay, because
Nothing the volume right now.
Because Ajahn Brahmali is doing another Zoom session next door.
Yeah, so the bandwidth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think even now the message is popping up. Your internet connection is unstable. So.
Yeah.
I think that's probably is the reason.
But that was Yeah.
Is the sound any better now?
It's a bit louder, but it's still break up in the middle of a sentence and things like that. So, but we.
I wonder if we could all turn our videos off.
Yeah, and see what happens there. Yeah, and reduce the bandwidth.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it would make difference or not. So. Does it make any difference?
Yes, I think a tiny bit.
Okay. I think
it's better.
We had this new connection, but I think it still kind of breaks up sometimes. Yeah. Even when there is no Zoom session going on. Yeah. So, anyways. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's a bit better. Okay.
We'll check out and see.
Okay. So you have anybody has any comments or questions?
Can't see any in the chat box, so I don't know if anybody's got any questions. You'll have to unmute yourselves if you want to ask a question. Because we're all muted here at the moment. Any questions? No. I can't hear anyone, Venerable.
Okay.
But that's because they're muted, actually. They'll have to unmute themselves.
Okay.
To be able to see this.
So, any kind of a suggestion? Anything you want me to talk about? No? Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Could I talk about Vesak celebrations from Chris?
Yeah, we keep breaking up, so I don't know what the best course of action is.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else got a suggestion?
Yeah, there's
Venerable, there is a question in the chat box. Could you talk about the Vesak Day celebrations, please?
Oh, Vesak Day celebration. As you know, Vesak is more kind of what the birth.
We have lost sound, Venerable. We can't hear you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Can't hear you.
Oh. How about now? Okay. It's kind of unfortunate. Oh, okay, you can hear. Okay, that's great. So Vesak is Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and death. So he made it quite simple for us. You know, he did everything on one day. And over here we don't celebrate that much in Bodhinyana Monastery. When we have, especially the full moon day, monks have our Patimokkha. But mainly for lay people, we have celebrations in the city center, where Ajahn Brahm, he does these kind of like fun and games, and he gave precepts to people who are kind of people who become sort of new Buddhists. And I'm not sure if I've ever been to Vesak celebrations in Nolamara, even as a lay person. Yeah, we actually, I don't have much to say about Vesak Day here actually in Bodhinyana, because we don't do much. For us mostly it's the kind of same day, but if you kind of reflect in another way, it's kind of like a very important day, right? Right? Because the importance of the day is he became enlightened, right? And attained parinibbana. And which you can sort of like take out is, the message you can take out is that it's kind of like possible for all of us, right? To have this, the experience of samadhi and nirvana, right? And yeah, I don't have much to say about Vesak, right? And you can reflect similarly on all the other kind of like teachings, right? But it's kind of, these days are kind of big for people who are very traditional Buddhist in those especially traditional Buddhist countries, because people like something to celebrate, right? But if you kind of think in ways, if you are deep, sort of like a serious Dhamma practitioner, it's a, I don't know, celebration day every day, right? When you sit down, close your eyes, it's really important. So, or you can say every moment is important. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about Vesak Day celebrations.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, dealing with the disappointments. Well, so dealing with disappointments is to kind of reflect from the Dhamma perspective that why we get so disappointed, right? Especially with life, with all their goals or expectations from other people, is because we want something, right? We expect something, or expect things to turn out in a certain way, and that's the kind of nature of the world. It would never gonna turn out the way you think it's going to be, right? And if we all kind of reflect on our lives, everybody had some sort of expectations, right? And things are never the same. So when we kind of realize the nature of the world, that is, it's probably not very wise to expect so much, right? And we don't get so disappointed, right? And the other thing is we have our kind of, we sort of like, fantasize, we paint a certain picture in our mind, from big things to small things, right? Even going to a supermarket, buying something, and you think, oh, I'll cook something, it's probably gonna taste amazing, and probably never exceeds your expectations. And same thing is with the relationships, or jobs, it never gives us this sort of like, this happiness. This is the nature of the world. Right? And when we are content, we don't get disappointed. Right? And it also is if we kind of reduce our sense of self, reduce our ego, it helps you. And what ego does is like either you want something or you get depressed. And actually there are a lot of kind of studies coming out which kind of say is are kind of like the same parts of the brain, which kind of like deal with anxiety and depression, are the same parts where we feel our sense of self, right? So, and they actually are more kind of active, or they light up more people with anxiety and depression, right? And from the kind of Buddhist perspective, it is desire, right? Either you say like, I'm not good enough, I'm terrible, our sense of self, right? Or be kind of like more egocentric, right? Or arrogant. It's the kind of like the same kind of thing, but the opposite ends of it, of the stick. So we try to lessen our ego. We look at ourselves from the Dhamma perspective, right? That there is no one here, right? We all result of this cause and effect, right? So while we have these teachings, these wonderful teachings of the Buddha, we try to lessen our ego. Well, and it kind of like sows the seeds for the future and carries the momentum, right? And if you follow those teachings, you would see the effect on your mental world after a year, after practicing, or 2 years, right? And when you would look back, you will realize that you have changed a lot, right? And not think about the world too much, right? And try to lessen the worldly conditions, right? Because that's what the world talks about, right? Achieving this, achieving that, it's in the media everywhere. So, that's what your family and friends talk about. Because it dominates our material world, right? So that's why you have this refuge in the Buddha's teaching, right? Where you have this sense of calmness, right? This peace, right? And where you don't have to worry about all these expectations, right? And this one of the other reasons that why harder for people to meditate, right? Our sense of self, right? When you try to achieve something through meditation, right? Try to get certain stage of meditation, right? It doesn't work. You end up being more tense. That's why kind of Ajahn Chah said that meditation is about letting go. letting go of the sensory desires of the world, letting go of ill will. Right? Letting go of fear of whatever doubt you have, right? So it would help you a lot, All these things are so connected. It all kind of comes down to our sense of self. And if you practice the right way, you won't get disappointed, right? And in the face of disappointments, you would laugh, you'll be happy, you'll be content. I've seen many people, like this one particular person, right? And he was quite a serious Dhamma practitioner, His house got burned down, right? There was some sort of like a mistake, a candle was left, and all his work and everything burned down. But even after that, he wasn't that kind of like shaken or disappointed. He's like, yeah, it's life. Yeah. So we try to create this real peace through the practice, right? Which is gonna help us in this life and in the next lives, right? So that's all I have to say about that. Yeah. So any more questions?
Can't see any in the chat box yet, but I'm sure there'll be some coming through.
Yeah, no? Okay. So.
It was just Martha saying thank you
Okay.
to that question.
You're welcome.
Answer to that question, because Martha had asked that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
From the
Good. Yeah. Okay.
I'm assuming everybody else is happy.
Okay. Yeah. No, actually, Dhamma practice is so important in today's life, right? Oh, Ajahn, who is it? Sorry, Chris is asking a question.
Oh, that's Chris from Japan.
Okay. How I became a monk? Well, I shaved my head and there was an ordination and I became a monk. It's probably maybe a previous life thing, right? That I ended up as a monk in this life. I think last time I was here in March, we kind of talked about how I became a monk. I moved here to Australia from India in 2008 as a student. Then 3 years later I came across meditation. I was like, oh wow, that's great, right? Never heard of the teachings of the Buddha before, right? And then I slowly started reading the suttas. And even actually before the suttas, I had this thought. I was sitting in meditation, I should become a monk, right? I don't want to become a monk. And I felt quite happy, right? And And then it sort of carried on, and that stayed with me, that thought. And it was really important to me to reflect on it, right? So if you reflect on something, right, and your mind would follow your intentions, right? Whatever you do would follow. It's about giving importance to things, right? And but I remember when I was a kid, I must have been 8 or 9. I used to say to my friend's family that I'm gonna become a sadhu. And I was only like 8 or 9, and they used to used to say me, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure, right? They used to joke with me, and I don't know where I got it from, right? I was 8 or 9, right? So it's probably coming from, maybe I would say, from previous life, that I ended up as a monk. Maybe I was a not really good monk. I didn't get enlightened last time. So here we are, yeah. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah. Anybody has any comments or questions now? Okay. It's kind of for me, it's kind of hard to getting used to this Zoom session, because I never do this online thing, right? It's kind of hard to see, right? So there's always this gap, right, when you're talking. But if you are face to face with somebody, it's so easy, right? It's probably probably awkward for you guys as well. So, but I don't even video call to my my parents or other family friends in India. I just stays on the phone. That's quite simple. I think the other important thing during this pandemic, which how it came to my mind was today, is that we are so lucky, right? That if you have come across the Eightfold Path, right, and you're doing meditation practice, right, and you have such a great chance, right? It's an amazing good karma from previous lives, right? That you came across these teachings, right? And actually Buddha says that. He said probably you can tell from somebody if they have really good amazing karma is to hear those teachings directly from the Buddha and practice, right? And he's probably the second best thing is while the teachings are still alive, right, and people are practicing, right? So we don't have the best, we don't have the Buddha, right? This is the second best. Right? We have these teachings, and you have some kind of inclination to practice those teachings. Right? So that's why we give so much importance, because when we gonna die, all this stuff in the world not gonna matter. Right? It's only our mind which is gonna carry on. Right? When you hear these stories of people who are on their deathbed, right? Everything have other things in the world don't have any importance to them. You know, I remember my grandmother, when she was passing away, I was like on her, you know, very close to her bed. You know, few days before, you know, she said to kind of like her family that like, oh, you know, all these things of the world, I don't feel any kind of like attachment or affection towards them. Like, it's like, even like kind of like saying like even the family, which was kind of like which was quite a shock to my auntie at that time, right? But that's how she felt. Like 2 days after, like she kind of like passed away. And so what's gonna matter to you, right? Because the family is not gonna go with you next life, right? It's probably not too good to have too much attachment to the family, right? You know, only thing we will take is our mind, right? Or the good karma, or bad karma, right? So, so we try to make good karma, right? Yeah. So we try to be more generous, right? That's how you become rich. So there are probably many rich people in the world, you know, they might be doing bad karma, we don't know, you know. They probably have some good karma from the past, that's how they ended up being rich now, right? So they're more comfortable. Probably they have other kind of like problems, right? But so you try to be generous, right? You try to be a moral person. You develop your mind. If you develop your mind more, you know, you might end up in a Devaloka, right? Because meditation has this capacity to take you very higher. You know, if you are poor, you cannot donate much. You know, you can't do too many things for other people, right? You know, your body is sickly. Yeah, you're mostly stuck at home. Meditate. Right. It's probably going to help your old body as well, right, in the process of death. So we get our investment right? So, yeah, be kind. Right? Okay. All right, everyone. Yeah. It's probably close to 8:30.
That's all, yeah.
Oh, actually, is there any questions? No?
I think there was one from Upesh earlier on, Venerable. Says, can you give us some tips on how to calm our minds during day-to-day life? So, I don't know whether you've got time for that.
Yeah, sure, yeah. It's quite simple. Day-to-day life, meditate. Get some breaks in between, right? It's pretty simple, right? So, maybe find a time, like 5 minutes, even if they are 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? You're doing something in between, you know, turn your phone off, you know, and close your eyes. Well, it's not the 5 or 10 minutes that are not hard, right? It's only the effort is closing your eyes. You know, that's the kind of like a hard thing for people. But if you give importance to somebody, you'll find time for it. Right? And remember, like I was saying before, that remember that you have this incredible karma in this life that you came in contact with these teachings, right? That should bring you a lot of joy. You're a really lucky person. Look, there are so many wars going around in the world, right? People getting injured, dying, right? Not getting food, right? So many diseases. So that should propel you, right, to do some meditation practice, right? And develop your verbal contact, your kind of, and your mental contact, right? So, yeah, find 5 or 10 minutes, sort of like breaks during the day if you can, and maybe if you can, get up early and meditate while the rest of your family is sleeping. Get up early. I remember when I was a kid, I used to do that. My family would be sleeping and I would get up. I grew up in a village, right? And I put a kind of like this shawl around me, and I would go to the Sikh temple where the priest would be like reciting hymns and stuff, and I would just go and sit there, And when I was on the street, because I was like, must be 8 or 9, and I would be afraid of the dogs in the street. Hopefully they don't bite me. Right? And I actually at that time I kind of like really enjoyed. Yeah. So maybe get up early or before you go to sleep. So then you will have a better sleep if you meditate before you go to bed. Right? You lie down. Most of the people, they lie kind of like on their side. They sleep on their side. Maybe lie on your back and become aware of the body. Right? You do some body scanning. And you'll fall asleep. It also helps you kind of body to relax. Yeah. So come up with different things. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay,
Yes,
bye
yes,
everyone.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So,
Have a good evening.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu,
Venerable.
sadhu. Yeah.
Thanks very
Okay,
much for a very,
okay.
very good evening's session. Thank you.
Okay. All right.